Today was an incredibly full day. It is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. We got up and at 'em today at 5:55, slightly later than I would have liked to wake up, but we still had an incredibly full day. Right now, it is 9:45 p.m., so a bit later than I'd like to be up right now. We had two leaks in the day. One was being slightly later to start than intended, and then two was I did get caught scrolling for about 30 minutes today, poking around Instagram and not getting a bunch done. So that did cost us about an hour, and it could be 8:46 right now had I have been better disciplined after my calls. I noticed that's one of the parts of the day where I can tend to break down a little bit is after a call that ends at like 5:30 or 6, and my brain's kind of like done, and there's almost like a trigger that's like, yeah, you're done for the day, but you're really not, because that's when all the management tasks come into play. The way that my schedule's been breaking down as of recent, now that I've been back at the office for a while, it's been like morning deep work, and then calls, and then management has been really like how it's gonna go. So like deep work, a bit of management, calls, and then management, and then video, and then sleep. And then basically depending on the day, like Mondays, there's very minimal deep work, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays, much more deep work, calls, and then management. But the management block has been spiking up a little bit because the person we had in our CSM role, we parted ways earlier this week, so I've effectively took over that role. I played a lot of that role as it was, but it's just a little bit of an extra lift on my plate at the moment. But one of the things we're going to be doing to fix that properly is we've officially started on our EOS journey, which is the traction method by Gino Wickman. So I already have all of the books in my library right here from the traction library, and have been brushing up on those beforehand. But I officially started with EOS today, and I'll be flying to Connecticut this weekend. So Saturday night at 11 p.m. my flight leaves Phoenix. We land at 6 a.m. Connecticut time. I Uber an hour and a half north to my coach's office. We meet for 6 hours. I Uber back to the airport and then fly back and get back in around 10 on Sunday night. So that's what's going to be happening on Sunday. Sunday will be an interesting one. I'm actually pumped. One of my friends, mentors, and clients, his name is James. He's got a very big law firm, and he always is telling me about when he flies JetBlue Mint. So it's like, dude, you got to go mint. And there was an opportunity. The flight was either $400 economy on the way back, or $700, and I could fly Mint, which is apparently the best first class in like domestic US. So I'm trying it out. I used some credit card points, so I ended up paying like $500 something, so only $100 more than I would have paid to go economy. So I'm cool with doing that. Plus, we'll get to sleep a little bit on the way back and or study up on what I learned from the EOS meeting. So I think that will be worth it. Very excited for that. So that was one of the notes that I had, was sending it to Connecticut on Sunday. That was one of the things that we had over here. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. I just wanted to explain what my day is usually structured like. But today's deep work was trial scripts. So we have some clients, potential clients in the pipeline right now that I'm super pumped, and I really want to start working with, because I know we're going to be able to crush it. So the clients that are in the pipeline that I know we're able to crush it for, I'm always writing trial scripts so that they can film those videos, see how the process goes. We can edit them, and they can post the videos, and they see how well they perform next to what they were doing previously. And then they tend to work with us if all goes well. And if it's not a good fit, we get to find out before we get married. That being said, that was until about noon, and then I started a bit of management task. 1:45 at a consulting call with someone who has an editing agency with over 70 editors, and he's actually gearing up to sell that agency. So I always hit him up and do consulting every time I have questions about our editing department. And we were due for a call because I had some things as we brush up our editing department, bring somebody in to run that department. We want to have everything really polished. So we had an hour and a half consulting call today. so many takeaways on how to set up our Google Drive and Frame and ClickUp and naming conventions, expectations for editors, onboarding for clients for best editing practices, things like that. Really, really good. I'm going to go through and synthesize all my notes afterwards because right after that call, I jumped on my EOS discovery call. So lots to take away there. I really liked how they show their entire process on the sales call. Something I took away was we could also have our process better crystallized in a deck so that we can present it on the sales calls as well, just so like we can start to make it more obvious what it is that we do instead of Danny just yapping on the call. Either way, 6 reach outs today, did my 5, and then had an opportunity to do another one inside of school, inside of the acquisition community. I made a post saying if you did the $35,000 upgrade for Hormozi's acquisition scale group, what would you do to get the most out of it? Because I have that onboarding call tomorrow, and then we're going to be going back to Vegas in March to execute that. 3 mobility sessions today, and chatted with my buddy Mike at Move You. Told him, I was like, dude, my knee and leg is getting better thanks to the stretches that you're doing. Deep work was the trial strips. One of the lessons I wanted to say is just like play the cards that you have. And sometimes the card might not seem to be ideal. I'll give an example of this. Is when I first got introduced to the EOS implementation team, at least the guys that I got introduced to, they had said like we were not ready for it. Like we were just shy of $1 million a year, and we have no leadership team. It's like Danny and like employees that are doing the work on the front lines, which is not a bad thing. But EOS is mainly for people with leadership teams. So I had felt really like small. And then when they were talking about, hey, like, here's what it looks like to work together. Maybe we'll put you on a smaller one. Like, want to make sure you can afford it. Like, blah, blah. I had felt a little like belittled. I was like, damn. Like, I think we're doing good. Like, we're doing like we've had 80K months. Like, I think that's cool. And but I felt really, really small. Just like, oh yeah, you'd be like the smallest client we work with, blah blah. And at first I was like, bro, I just wired Alex Hormozi $35,000. I'm not poor. Like I can afford what you're telling. Like it was $8K a quarter thing. They're like, oh yeah, we want to make sure you can afford it. This. So at first I tried to justify myself and say like, no, I'm capable of spending this money. You realize we do this, blah blah blah. And I try like posture. And then the next time it got brought up, saying, oh, you know, I want to make sure you can afford it. Maybe we can do something. And I started to lean into it. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I want to make sure this makes sense. Blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh, you use, 60% less of the price for a scaled back version. I was like, awesome. Had I been flexing and trying to posture myself, I would have ended up paying thousands and thousands more on a yearly basis. So I played my cards in that situation. This right here, hard now, easy later. This is a principle that I learned a little while back called ordered thinking, where if things are difficult now, usually they're better later. If you eat a salad now, step 1 is eat the salad. Maybe the salad doesn't taste that good. Step 2 is you feel good and energized. Step 3 is you're in shape. If you eat a hamburger right now with extra greasy bacon and fries and a Coke, it tastes good when you're eating it, but step 2 is you feel like shit afterwards, and step 3 is you're fat. So it's like usually the things that are harder now are easier later. This right here, tough to great. I wrote this down because some clients are very difficult to close. Like they ask 100 million questions and push back and can make you feel like shit about yourself sometimes. But it's important not to like tell them to fuck off, because sometimes those are the best clients. I learned this officially at the ACQ scaling event, but I felt this before where it's like clients sometimes give you a really hard time in the sales process. If you can make it through that process and bring them on as a client and like logic their way through it and where it actually makes sense and is a good decision for both parties, those end up being the best clients. Example was this apartment right here. I asked the lady at least 100 questions because it was the first apartment that I was ever like leasing or having on my own. I asked at least 100 questions. I'd have been so annoying, but like I just renewed my lease here and I'll probably be here for a long time. So I think I'm a pretty good client. I don't cause any problems unless shit breaks. I just have maintenance, but nothing really breaks. I try to be a good tenant. But that was just something I wanted to touch on. And then, yeah, sending it to Connecticut. That's what I'm going to be doing. So today was a really full day. Just wrapped up lots of management tasks and then saw I had about 6 notifications come through during this video. So I'm going to get to those, do a little bit of stretching, maybe treat myself to a snack. I don't know, but it's getting late. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. 5:30 will be wake up time. Deep work, couple calls. Actually, for a bit of calls, I think I have 5 calls in a row. Run, management, and then going out to dinner with our buddy Sam, who's in town. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.